I'm Sarah Sturgis and I work at SMRS, and what I'm here to talk to you about today is how the employee sits in amongst an employer brand. So in order to give some context to the rest of my presentation, what I thought I'd do is open up a little bit and tell you a little bit about myself to start the presentation today. Now, I don't really like talking about myself, and I'm not doing it for any ego boost or anything like that. It will have context, I promise. Okay, so I've worked at SMRS now for 19 years, which feels like forever in a really good way. I had a few jobs before I worked at SMRS, but my reason for leaving my previous role and coming to this organisation was because I didn't feel that I had a cultural fit in the organisation I was previously working in. And that was the real reason why I moved. I can honestly say that I absolutely love my job, everything about it. I never have, as Reid would say, that Monday morning feeling or that Sunday night feeling where I think I don't want to go into work, I'm not going to enjoy the day ahead, even on days like today when I'm presenting in front of a big room of people like this. So I thought about why I love my job so much, what is it? And I think for me, there's two elements to it. One is what I give, and the other is what I get back. In terms of what I give, I work incredibly hard. I put a lot of effort into what I do. I work at a very fast pace. I work with a lot of different people who are great people across the organisation. A lot of flexibility. I've got 3 children. I've had 3 maternity leaves in the time I've been at SMRS. It's never once affected my ability to progress, never stopped me moving on in the organisation, which I personally massively value. I also work part-time, so I can drop my little boy off at school a few mornings a week, and that's really important to me. But then also, when I think about what I get back, that is just as important, because the things that I get back are that I know that I've got that autonomy, that flexibility, that ability to live my life how I choose, but still enjoy my job. And the things that really stand out for me about working at SMRS are the fact that we have a really strong culture, and it's really clear where we're heading as an organisation, what our strategy is to take us over the next few years, what our vision is, what our purpose is, and importantly, what our values are. So we reassessed our own values as an organisation over the last 6 months. And now we've gone from what people usually had, can't even remember them now, because you often can't. But our values right now are the fact that we're natural explorers, we give a damn, and we add colour. So they're quite unique, they're quite unusual. I think that for me, that process of developing those values was something we all did across the agency, so it wasn't something that came from the top down. It was very much everyone decided what our values should be, how we want to live those values, and how we want to work together. So that engaged me more in the organisation that I'm working in. And I think really what that does for me is it makes me feel that I work somewhere that is the right place for me. And ultimately, because I'm here to talk about employer branding, what I've just talked about in the last 5 minutes is, in effect, our employer brand as SMRS, because it's what I think and feel about SMRS as a place to work. And that's the summary of employer branding as I see it. So, as you've listened to what I've just said, do you all believe what I've just talked about? Put your hand up if you believe everything I've just said. 90% of the time, you will believe another employee of an organisation and everything that they say 90% of the time. And that's a really impactful point for any company to have. So if you're talking about employer branding, it's so critical to think about the people that you have in your organisation, what stories they tell about it, and what goes out there into the market, because that fundamentally is what will differentiate you. So in other words, it pays, because you've already got an employer brand. Stay true to who you are. We heard from Sarah just now, who said, sorry Sarah, I can't remember the line, but it was just be you, be honest, be authentic, and I think that's really important. I think also you need to make sure that your employer brand has meaning and is valuable and important to the people you want to attract, but also the people you want to keep in your organisation. And it also needs to be very, very attractive because it's so competitive out there. So when I think about where an employer brand story starts, for me it very much starts with culture, and it starts with all of the things that this says. So ultimately, culture is the character and personality of your organisation. It's what makes you unique, and it's the sum of your values, your traditions, your beliefs, your interactions, your behaviours and your attitudes. And that is really important. I'm not the only person though who believes that culture and values are important, because this survey was done by Glassdoor. And again, I'm sure we'll talk a lot about Glassdoor today. Everyone is increasingly engaged with Glassdoor. Before they go to an organisation, they will look at the reviews. It's becoming more and more popular. This was 600,000 people who were surveyed on Glassdoor. And the two things that stand out, culture and values and senior leadership. And I think one of the main things in this particular information is that those two things connect significantly. So the culture of an organisation often comes from the top. The shadow that the leaders cast is really important. So it's great when you've got engaged leaders, as we've heard about today, and people who will interact and will put their information out there. These are the different elements when we're looking at employer branding. These are different things that almost gives you that underpinning, that basic grounding for developing your employer brand. The first is, do you have a clear vision as an organisation? Do you know what you're trying to achieve? Do you know why you're there and why the people who work for you are actually there as well? And do you, hands up if anyone here can say that, hand on heart, their values are fantastic, everyone believes in their values within the organisation that they work in? Yeah, please, SMRS people, please put your hands up. Okay, so not many people. Put your hands up if you think you've got a clear vision and you know where you're heading. Purpose? Much stronger. Quite often employer brands really bring to life the purpose of an organisation. I've got some examples of some of those to share with you. So I've talked a lot about the people and the importance of people in employer branding. And quite often in our industry, we'll call those brand ambassadors. So employer brand ambassadors are often people who are, like me, love the job that they do and want to tell people about it. I know that I've brought people into our organisation because of how I've explained what it's like to work there. I'm sure in your roles, you're constantly telling people how fantastic your organisation is. But if you could tell people based on exactly what that culture is, where you're heading, what your direction is, it would make it far more believable and important to people. So here's some stats that talk about the value of of brand ambassadors. So I think for me, 59% of people say that if they're engaged, they're more creative in the workplace. So if one of the objectives of your organisation is to have more new ideas, to get people more creative in the work that they're doing so that you can move the company on, it's really important to invest in these people. We've already covered the 90% of people trust other people. Official corporate messages that are shared from a marketing team or from someone who's just pushing messages out, only 33%. An employee is believed to be twice as trustworthy as the CEO. And brand messages reach much, much further when they're shared by employees, and they get more engagement. So there's a really strong reason why you need to get your people involved in your employer brand. What I wanted to do today was show you a few different case studies that covered off all of the things I've covered there. And I think you'll see purpose coming through in different ones of these. You'll see the value of the brand ambassadors. We've got quite a few videos to watch, but I wanted to show you the diversity of how you can get your people involved. So the first one is for B&Q. Now, the objective for B&Q was that they had a new strategy and a new purpose, and they really wanted to embed this in their culture through their employer brand. So we got their people involved. As you'll see from the creative, it's all about illustration. There's a huge amount of typography in this, but the people feature really strongly, but not in a cheesy way, I don't think, personally.
Beautiful bungalows, smart studio flats, relaxing rooms, and happy houses. We're here to create good homes by making home improvement accessible for everyone. To do this, we're offering our customers greater solutions, more inspiring ideas, and even better advice. In store or online, all wrapped up in our trademark expertise and care, and all delivered by brilliant people. This last bit's big. We know that to create a good home for everyone, we need to be a good home for everyone. And we are. We're a place where people can grow new skills, build a career, make things happen, and make a positive impact on the business, their store, or, of course, their customers' homes. So join us, do work worth caring about, and feel right at home.
So did you see the purpose, what they're all about, how they were connecting what they're trying to do for their customer with their colleague as well? This next one was a really interesting project to work on. So Kerry Foods are a huge food manufacturer, and they produce everything from cheese strings, pepperami, to all of the ham hocks that you get in Waitrose and Marks and Spencer's around Christmas time. They literally cover so many different types of food. So when we were developing their employer brand, we had two objectives. What we needed to do was to obviously involve food, but then also involve their people in the employer brand. So as you can see, we created food models for all different scenes, and each of these scenes related to their values. So all of the values were brought to life through this particular employer brand project. And everything from lemon rockets to the ham hock mountain, every single product in these illustrations, well, in this photography, are actually things that they use in their foods. But we had a real challenge because we knew we wanted to put people into this employer brand. And it was really easy to buy models online, little railway type people models, and we used some of those in some of the scenes. But we wanted to go a step further. So what we did was we actually took a number of people from across the country, flew them all into Egham, and they went through the process of both having their videos of who they are, what their stories were, and how we could bring that to life across the website. But we also created mini models out of each person. So they were 3D modeled. They had to go through a system that created loads, hundreds and thousands of little photos of them over a couple of minutes. And then they were put into, as you'll see on the right, their personal food scene. And we did this with a number of people, all different levels within the organisation, all different roles, so that we could really say that their employer brand had real people and real characters within them. And that was incredibly successful. A huge number of the leadership team have been asking when they can have their mini models as well. Some were involved. This next one is an employer brand project that we actually did a couple of years ago now, but I think it still remains one of the best examples of how you can engage people in the development of the employer brand from start to finish. So you'll see it in this video. There's actually a 5-minute version of this video. It's okay, this is 2 and a bit. There's a 5-minute version of this video on their careers site, and it's been watched something like, Mandy will tell me here, 92% of people who start watching it finish it and watch it right to the end for 5 minutes. So you can see the level of engagement that people are having when they're watching other people in those work environments. It's really important.
The phrase, let's do the extraordinary, it's about taking the extraordinary and making it part of what you do every day.
Having the passion to come in every day and really differentiate ourselves as unique.
Today we're shooting the employer brand recruitment material. This captures that spirit in let's do the extraordinary.
The message is you can do the extraordinary, and you can do it at House of Fraser. So it doesn't matter where you work, whether you're in head office, IT, retail, you can bring your own personality to the House of Fraser.
We've taken 8 different models from across House of Fraser, and we've got to know their personalities inside and out, what they do at work, what they do outside of work.
We want to bring new people into our organisation, and we want those people to be extraordinary.
Today I've come here for a brilliant photo shoot.
I had my hair and makeup done, what little hair that I have, and I was filmed doing a bunch of different poses, lying down.
It is you in the centre and then your world around you, so basically who you are.
I'm an everyday person and I don't look like this every day.
House of Fraser welcomes unique people. They really welcome people that will show the things that they're interested in, both inside and out of work.
So we've got jazz singers, we've got go-kart racers, people that work for House of Fraser really do have an extraordinary world.
I wanted to audition, just wanted to express my world really.
Auditioned in Baker Street for it and then found out that I'd been invited to the personal shopping experience in Oxford Street, which was absolutely fantastic.
I got to try styles that I don't usually necessarily wear every day.
They've chosen for me today a superhero theme. They put a cape on me and they've kind of got me to strike various superhero poses.
My scene is all about me singing. I've been styled as like a 40s kind of jazz singer.
I've been an angel, which all my friends have laughed about because they know me as a person. So what is, I'm going to be laying down and then there's going to be wings drawn on, etc. and illustrations around.
To thrive at House of Fraser, you really need to be somebody who's motivated.
I think you need to be someone that's not afraid to take risks.
We don't want to encourage people to be like kind of cookie cutter people. Everyone has their own interest, everyone brings their own skills to House of Fraser.
It's about recognising that every individual is unique and is going to be bringing their own ideas to the table.
They've hired you for you, so just be yourself.
Well, you can see it clearly in how I've moved through my role. They've really just let me be fluid in what I'm interested in.
This is definitely an extraordinary day.
It's just a really good experience.
Loved the whole thing, hair, makeup.
I just think House of Fraser is such a special place to work.
It's making extraordinary ideas come to life, come to reality.
So as you can see, individuals going on a journey, developing their own connection to the employer brand there. You don't always have to use video though. This is quite a fun one that we're having at the moment for my dentist, which is one of the biggest dentists across Europe. And in effect, we've got these cute kind of illustration scenes, but we wanted to understand how we could connect people to those as well. So we're actually developing avatars that sit within this. So I don't know if any of you in the room have ever met or come across Rob Devlin, but there he is. That's his picture, that's his avatar. He's connecting to the values of the organisation as well in his story. And we're looking, I think the shoot was actually last Friday, to develop more of these people across the organisation as well. So there's loads of different ways that you can get your people involved. It doesn't have to be someone to camera just talking about what they do in the organisation. That can actually be quite dull sometimes, so it's important that you bring a bit more variety to it. This is one, we've got Emily in the room, I believe. Give us a wave, Emily. There she is. Emily from GLH Hotels. You're actually in one of GLH's hotels today as well. They've got 16 other hotels across London, And we're working with Emily at the moment on developing their employer brand. And again, we wanted to make sure that we were able to put the people into it, because what really came out in the research that we did for their employer brand was this massive loyalty, not to the hotel necessarily that they're in, but to the different hotels sometimes that they've worked in. This next lady, this is Leah Williams. She actually joined as working in the bar and then developed into, she's now an accounts manager. So what we've got here as well is the different scenes that we've used around Leah are all the things that she's chosen, that she's selected are relevant to her in her life and in her work at GLH as well. So lots of different ways to use it. The last thing I wanted to finish on, though, is a video that we developed with the National Audit Office. So does anyone know what the National Audit Office does? Yeah? Not many people. So that was the problem, the employer brand problem that the National Audit Office was, that they are auditors, as the name suggests. They're perceived as being very boring, perceived as being quite stuffy. They were struggling to attract people who they would say had more personality and would really fit in the organisation. When we first started working with them, what really stood out was they weren't like that at all. It was a very strong misconception in the marketplace that that's what they were like. So what we wanted to do was to produce a video that did a number of different things. It explained the purpose of who the National Audit Office is, what they do, why they do what they do, and then also got their people involved in that process to show that they are real people.
The NAO helps the nation spend wisely.
We look at how government spends money.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's a big job.
That means holding them to account for what they spend and how they spend it.
Yeah, we're auditors, really.
The NAO is the government's watchdog, I guess.
The scrutiny body for public finance.
We check the accounts for government.
We report to Parliament.
We're fully independent, we're not civil servants here, we are Crown agents, which sounds really fancy.
We ensure value for money.
Save costs and minimise waste.
We all pay tax and we want to know that our tax is going on projects that are worthwhile.
The work of the NAO is incredibly influential.
At the heart of a lot of the issues that are taking place right now.
I don't think there was an MP who didn't draw on our work.
We're hugely influential not only with Parliament but with the media.
I love it when people come and tell me, we've made the front page.
Oh, I see you're in the news again.
You wake up in the morning and you turn on the TV and there's your colleague on television and our reports are mentioned.
It can really push an issue to the front.
The NAO does really important work. It really does impact on, whether books get to schools and drugs get to hospitals. It is kind of that crucial.
You're focusing on saving.
And we're talking billions, not tens of thousands here.
We work for everybody in the country.
Every single taxpayer.
Everything we do impacts on you.
Working for the NAO isn't all facts and figures.
We do look at real things that affect the life of real people.
We work all over the place.
Defence, hospitals,
GPs, dentists.
We do work with the BBC, Network Rail,
schools,
roads, buses,
the courts and criminal justice system.
One minute you might be on a farm counting sheep, the next minute you might be in one of the royal palaces.
I can't think of much that it doesn't affect.
We all want to know that that money is spent really wisely.
We just want to get the best value for money from the government for the people.
Accountants are definitely humans.
You feel you are doing something counts.
Yeah, it feels good.
I'm really proud. My dad is very proud.
We're more active, we're more of a voice.
We're able to speak without fear or favour.
I used to work in market research and I sold tomatoes. It doesn't give you the same feeling as I saved the NHS $2 billion today.
So I'll ask that question again. Who knows what the NAO do? Put your hand up. Quite simple to explain. And none of the people involved in that were scripted. They just said when they were asked questions, they answered them. And that's what they created from there. So as you can see, it's really important that your employer brand tells your story. if it can use your own people, you must all be able to think right now about 5, 10 different people within your organisation who you know would tell your story amazingly well. It's people like that who you want to get involved in your employer brand. For me though, it has to be built on a solid culture. You have to be able to tell people externally as well as internally what you're all about as an organisation. You have to be able to encourage them not to just come to you because they've seen an advert but they're interested, they don't really know much about you as an employer. You need to push information out there. You need to get your story out as far as you can. It's got to attract people. But I think the one thing that gets forgotten quite often is an employer brand's got to engage the people that you've already got. And I'm sure that all of you in this room who are closely linked to resourcing functions or the people who are constantly attracting into your organisation can really see that if you can keep the people that you've got for longer, then the job of attracting will be far, far easier. So use your culture to attract the right people, and once you get them in there, keep that employer brand going across everything they experience to keep them in the organisation for longer. That's me. Thank you.